budget edition of ET Now Startup Central. I'm Chandra Srikanth coming to you live from India's startup capital, Bengaluru. And Krishna, a whole raft of measures to give digital economy a big push, online payments a big push, and of course, some much needed tax breaks for startups as well.
Oh, absolutely, Chandra. It was expected that Budget 2017 will hold some key announcements, especially to boost digital payments, especially coming after the demonetization drive. And as expected, many announcements from the government, especially in the digital payment space. And that's probably the reason why we have two of the key players in India's startup ecosystem in fintech space joining us here as well, Chandra, on the Startup Central Budget Edition right here on ET Now, and a top e-commerce player in the country as well, isn't it?
That's right, Krishna. All the top names only on ET Now, and on a day like this, it's really imperative, to get all their thoughts on the future of India going forward, a new digital India as we are witnessing, going by the big push for digital transactions. We are also seeing a high connectivity network being laid across the country, a lot of initiatives for MSMEs, and not to forget tax exemptions for startups as well. So let me introduce our guest straight away. We have Kunal Bahl, the co-founder and CEO of Snapdeal, one of India's leading e-commerce companies, a unicorn. Another unicorn on the show, we have Paytm's founder and CEO Vijay Shekhar Sharma joining us as well, one of the biggest beneficiaries of remonetization, so to speak. And joining us live in our Mumbai studio, we have Jitendra Gupta, founder of Citrus Pay. I'm sure he's a happy man as well today. But we'll take it up then with Kunal Bahl first to get his initial reaction. Kunal, we really want to get your first take on, what this means from a digital perspective, from a startup perspective.
I think this is a budget which is very much in line with the overall narrative we've been seeing in the country from this government over the last 1 year. Especially over the last 6 months. There's obviously a big focus on expanding the digital infrastructure and footprint in the country through all the interventions such as, capping the cash payments to 3 lakhs, waiving of service charge on IRCTC, reducing the cash donations to political parties, and there's a slew of other initiatives. So I think that's very, very critical to building a less cash society, and in general, increasing the digital footprint of our country. So I think that is obviously very, very encouraging. The other area where I think for startups especially it's very encouraging is on the taxation part, where now the carry forward losses would be very favorable for startups, given the nature of our industry is such that you do incur an extended period of investment for which you don't get any benefit in the future. From a taxation standpoint. So I would say both on the taxation side as well as the digital footprint side, there are some real positive moves.
All right, so Kunal Bahl is indeed extremely positive on Budget 2017. Kunal, as you know, we have with us two of the leading players in India's fintech space as well, joining us here on this very special edition of Startup Central. One is Mr. Jitendra Gupta, co-founder of Citrus Pay, and then, of course, our very own Vijay Shekhar Sharma of Paytm. Vijay, I'm going to come to you first for your first take on the budget. What exactly stood out for you from a digital and startup perspective?
Yeah, I think last year's budget was like a startup friendly and special package for startup. This year's budget is very clearly special package for digital economy. Our FM has very clearly said that he has a direction towards enabling small shopkeepers to everybody to use digital as a payment method. Even the incentives on tax and even the reducing duties on those dongles, POS machines and everything else is an incredible step. I truly applaud the government's move towards moving digital economy, and that is in long term going to help this country. Obviously there is no doubt about it that we cannot remove whole of the cash, and we don't need to, but as much the digital becomes, as much the system becomes better. So this is a great part about the budget. Second part I liked about is that we have not just done the payment, we have taken this to next level. For example, like now there is a provision for issuing small SMEs and small merchants the loans using digital trails, and that is something very progressive by a government. And in fact, those people who were thinking about it is incredible kudos to them that they were picking up digital trail as a method of lending, and large money given to Mudra so that the money can reach nook and corner of a small shopkeepers, merchants and the fishermen and farmers. Incredible boost. I do believe that this budget, by creating these incentives for SMEs, will also create jobs at the ground level.
All right, Vijay, that's another thumbs up coming from India startup space, and good time to bring in Jitendra Gupta into the conversation. We just heard out both Kunal and Vijay Shekhar Sharma being extremely positive on the budget. Vijay Shekhar Sharma and you have a lot in common. And you were smiling when you were talking about the general system becoming better, moving towards cashless. I want to understand, Jiten, first of all, your first take on the budget on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate it?
So from a digital payments perspective, I will say it is 9 out of 10.
All right.
Because clearly the way Finance Ministry has given the push on digital payments in the budget at such a large extent is unbelievable. I haven't seen any budget like that before.
Okay. So that's a 9 on 10 from a digital payment perspective, you're saying. But otherwise?
Otherwise, it's 7 out of 10 because I think overall it's a very balanced budget. And they have tried extending the lower middle class, reducing the tax rate for the lower middle class, which is a big push to the consumption economy.
All right, that's the view as far as Jitendra Gupta is concerned. Chandra, back to you in Bengaluru.
Krishna, I'm going to take it forward with Kunal of Snapdeal, because he had mentioned some exemptions related to startups in terms of how they can carry forward losses even without that mandatory 51% holding. But Kunal, just to take it forward, other measures introduced also include that now the profit link deductions apply for 3 years out of 7 years instead of 5 years, because I'm sure it takes many more years for startups to start posting profits. The other being that the MAT link credit has also been extended to 15 years. I think people wanted MAT to be done away with completely, but that timeline has been extended to 15 years. So what do you make of these other measures? Are these just incremental moves? Should one really be excited about them?
Up till 2 years ago, there used to be no measures to help startups. So let's put it in context of that. At least now, we are seeing over the last 2 budgets, every year there is some step forward. Some are small steps, some are large steps. I would say the expansion of the digital footprint are large steps. The taxation are smaller steps, but they are steps nonetheless. The way I see it is, as long as we are making progress, it's great. No one is seeking perfection. We are all seeking progress. And the good news is we are making progress.
Thanks for that, Kunal, and I'm going to take it back to Jiten in our studio in Mumbai. And Jiten, this is a question I'm going to put to Vijay Shekhar Sharma as well. But if you look at the government, the whole push on the BHIM app, now Aadhaar Pay, it looks like the government is getting into payments in a big way. They're talking about how you will not need debit card, mobile phone, wallets for payments going forward. So again, what is the role of payment providers going to be, payment startups going to be? Are many of their models going to become irrelevant in the new normal?
So I would say the government is easing off the job for the payment companies because for any economy to develop, you have to create the education to the consumers first. And I would say by BHIM or by launching Aadhaar payment system, government is actually doing an education job at educating customer at a mass level, which will definitely help grow the ecosystem. And the players like Citrus and PayU can clearly benefit out of this education because we can just build the experience layer on and leverage this consumer base to drive our products.
All right, Jiten, hold your thoughts. Let me just take this back to your colleague in the fintech space. That is Vijay Shekhar Sharma. Vijay, I know I'm going to ask you what Chandra asked Kunal Bell just a short while ago. startup related moves being announced as part of budget 2017, in terms of, ease of doing business, essentially for startups, carry forward of losses, incentive boost for 3 out of 7 years, and of course the MAT credit entitlement. I'm curious, how do you view these things? Do you think they are substantial measures that will prove tangible on ground?
Look, in startups, we all have been waiting for these kind of nuances where things become very difficult, and then there are different ways and systems that probably a lot of people try to discover. So I'm really happy that these clarities have been brought and these supports have been added. We also look at it that no capital gain tax for more than 2 years for unlisted companies is also a very interesting step towards that, because this is the reason that if an entrepreneur wanted to do a little bit of secondary, then that was costing capital gain tax of a large amount. So I think these are really good incentives, or I would say clarity and support for startup ecosystem there.
All right. So Vijay feels that, at the end of the day, these measures are, in fact, as good as they sound. I'm going to start off by asking you, what are your take on the ease of doing business measures that have been announced as for startups in Budget 2017?
So, couple of things which Finance Ministry has done today, and which I would say very significant step directly. So one, what they've done is the presumptive income tax rate they reduced from 8% to 6% if the merchant is accepting payment digitally. Now what that means is the 2% tax, effectively 25% tax reduction for the person who is accepting payment digitally. So the cost of digital acceptance has been in a way absorbed by the government. The second thing which government has done is for the foreign investors who are investing through outside entities, they've actually exempted all the whole issue of the assets being held in India and they're selling outside India. Okay. So they've actually exempted these guys from taxation perspective. So even if they're based outside India and the assets are based in India, which I would say a very significant step for driving investment into the country.
And also a very significant step, I'm guessing, for driving investment into Citrus Pay as well, considering you'll be the one paying lesser taxes and have more safeguards to help you out. On that note, let me just hand this back to Chandra. Chandra, you have a question?
I'm going to take it back to Kunal again, Krishna, because, they are also going to benefit in a big way from this whole cashless move. In fact, Kunal, if you see the push on digital, there's an entire chapter on various schemes under the BHIM app. The Finance Minister has also done away with duties with respect to iris scanners, fingerprint readers. So how are you really going to position Snapdeal to take advantage of this? And are we going to see further reduction as far as cash on delivery is concerned, as far as e-commerce businesses are concerned?
Sure. I think in general, obviously our businesses have benefited from the reduction of cash in the economy and in general, the adoption of digital payment methods in the country. As a result, cash on delivery salience has gone down. As a result, FreeCharge, our payments business, has grown massively over the last 3 months, just to make lives of consumers more convenient as they struggle to get hands on cash. But I think there's an overarching objective here that all these steps that were announced today solve, and others that have been announced over the last 3 months during the phase of demonetization. It just brings into focus the convenience and the transparency and the lack of opacity that exists because of a more digital economy as compared to a largely cash economy that we've had since forever. All of these things will help in many different ways in terms of increasing business efficiency, reducing leakages, and in general, creating more opportunities for entrepreneurs like me and others to create businesses in our digital economy.
I'm going to ask you the question that I asked Jiten then. I mean, it's all very well that, the government is doing so much on digital transactions, but considering Aadhaar is going to become the premise of any digital payment, I mean, the government is saying you will not need any card, any phone, any wallet. So in terms of this, do business models like yours become irrelevant going forward? What will this mean as far as digital wallets are concerned?
Yeah. So first of all, let's see that what is government saying is that as government, we would promote Aadhaar, we would promote Bheem, and we will promote digital payment. So that is the point number one. When government pushes, then everybody gets a different level of trust and the overall digital economy grows. So first of all, it is a great positive because government is saying we are endorsing, we are incentivizing, we are adding referral, we are adding cashbacks to the merchants. So this is great. Second thing that has got done is that if you notice, the Bheem individually as a UPI app have got a special incentive out there. So technically NPCI, which runs Bheem, is no more just a rail provider to the banks, but is also an obligatory network creator of a merchant and a consumer, which is great because UPI was lacking such clarity, and that is why once Bheem came, we saw leaps and bounds of UPI transactions. So I believe that the incentives on Bheem will create a large UPI growth in next few months and the years to come. What it creates a byproduct is that all banks now do not have an obligation of creating a payment system led by them, and they can just piggyback the Bheem ecosystem and then get the benefit. So Bheem becomes a peer of Visa or Master, if you will, and UPI effectively uses Bheem as a primary channel. I think that is how it is coming out. As far as this ecosystem of cards, UPI and wallet is concerned, there is a ecosystem which is a wallet ecosystem, which is a, remember, wallet companies and especially people like us, Paytm, continues to do 0% transaction fee between A and B. Even though Bheem will expand the payment ecosystem, but it will have a, because it uses third-party rails and it uses some other ecosystem, so there will be a charges involved there. So card, UPI, Bheem and wallet, I think they will coexist, and wallet will become a special use case for fast transactions and including a transaction where both parties are carrying a mobile phone, or at least one party is carrying a smartphone. So this is a coexisting situation, but what game changer has been that that Bheem is no more let's say a reference app, but it is a primary play now, and UPI gets a primary play in Bheem.
All right, Vijay, I'm just going to take this to your colleague Jitendra Gupta, who's with me here in Mumbai studios. Jitendra, I want to ask you this right up actually. So many measures to boost digital payments, be it relief for POS transaction or increase in the number of POS machines in itself, duty cuts. So many measures to move. How do you see them playing to CitrusPay's strengths? And more importantly, with the government pushing Bheem and Aadhaar so much, how does CitrusPay feature in the scheme of things?
So I think, as Vijay mentioned, it's one of the job which government is doing now for the country, where Bheem has become a primary play for the country, and the banks need not do any job of developing an individual app. So from a CitrusPay perspective, what Bheem is doing is Bheem is actually creating the merchant and consumer ecosystem. They are educating consumer and merchant how to accept digital payments, and CitrusPay is anyway traditionally known for providing a superior user experience to both merchant and consumer.
Okay.
So we are definitely going to leverage that user experience and play out to our strength.
All right, so you have your plans pretty set, Jiten. I'm going to take this to Kunal Bell, who's still standing by. Kunal, I'm just going to change topics a little bit and talk about MSMEs. There's also been a big push for MSMEs in budget 2017 with corporate tax, for example, for companies with a turnover of 50 crore rupees, not more than 50 crore rupees, cut by 5% to 25%. Tell us, will this then help, say, sellers on your platform in a big way and in turn boost your business?
Obviously, I think that's an excellent point. A lot of our sellers are in that sub 50 crore range, and we have hundreds and hundreds of thousands, lakhs of such sellers on our platform of varying sizes, from maybe doing a sale of 1 crore a year to doing a sale of hundreds of crores a year. But a large percentage are below 50 crores. 96% of India's businesses are below 50 crores of turnover a year. And hence, I feel this will have a very positive impact, because this 5% saving will in effect get pulled back in providing better prices to consumers, which means consumers will probably increase their consumption. So there's a positive cycle, a positive spiral that this kicks in for the overall business, but also for the overall economy. I don't think the merchants would, in my view, at least I've spoken with a few merchants this morning, I don't think their view is that they'll just pocket the extra 5% and go home. they will probably pull back that 5% in providing better prices to consumers.
Finally then, Kunal, how would you rate this budget on a scale of 1 to 10?
I think it's always hard to do that, but I would put it at a 7.5.
And Vijay, how would you rate this budget?
7.5.
The same as Kunal, surprisingly, Paytm and Snapdeal agreeing on this one aspect. So Vijay, is that a thumbs up then? Is it above average? How should we decipher 7.5 on 10?
Yeah, it's a thumbs up. Absolutely. I mean, this is going with the kind of resources limitations that we have. It is not a populist budget. I mean, fiscal deficit has not been attempted to grow massively, but at the same point of time, correct places where the incentives and the support has to go. It gets a super thumbs up, actually.
All right, Vijay, we'll take your word for it. It's a very clear thumbs up from your end. I'm just going to remind audiences that we already got Jiten's take on the budget. Jiten, just to remind the audience, what is your rating out of 10 for budget?
7 out of 10.
7 out of 10. And if you were to keep it specific to digital and startups, you would say it's a 9
out of 10.
That's a clear 2 thumbs up as far as Jiten is concerned for budget 2017. Jiten, we are nearing the end of the show, so I have to ask you this. As we move forward, the biggest hurdle, in my opinion, for digital payments to really take off in a big way is internet and connectivity. With all the moves for the government, I want to understand how does CitrusPay deal with something like connectivity now that you have the government pushing digital payments like this? So one end is sorted, but the other big problem you have, even as the government is pushing it, is connectivity. How do you deal with that?
So coincidentally, Krishna, we are working on a product which will work in an offline manner, and you would not need any of the connectivity either to the bank or to the credit card system to make your payment at a merchant store. So that product is due out sometime next month.
All right, so we have some brand new announcements right here in our special budget edition of ET Now Startup Central. On that note, we need to wrap things up here. All good things come to an end. So I'm going to thank Kunal Bell, I'm going to thank Vijay Shekhar Sharma, and of course Jitendra Gupta for taking time out. Thank you all three of you gentlemen for sparing your time on this very busy, important budget day. Chandra, so that's it. We've got Startup Inc. right here on Startup Central. It's been a pleasure bringing this show to you, and it's a wrap from our side.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.